The ideal life often told in the countryside is to get married, have kids, and live happily ever after. While having a wife and children is certainly one form of happiness, there's also a different kind of joy in living freely and independently as a single person. This is Oda Gentaku, a 38-year-old handyman working in the city. Confident in his work, he announces that the repair is finished, embodying the steady independence of his trade. Gentaku arrives early at an elderly couple's home to fix their water issue, discovering the shutoff valve was simply closed, likely a prank by some kids. He also replaced the faucet and filter as requested, earning their gratitude and praise for his reliability. Despite handling plumbing today, Gentaku quietly reflects that his main trade is actually electrical work. As the familiar matchmaking questions arise, Gentaku calmly deflects them, explaining that these days just surviving is challenging enough. He reveals with a confident smile that his father's dying wish was for him never to marry, embracing his choice to remain single. Gentaku brushes off the idea that marriage and kids define true happiness. Finding it nonsense, with a polite farewell, he hops on his scooter, ready to move on to his next job. As he rides away, the homeowner calls after him, but Gentaku just shakes his head with a quiet, geez. With the last job done for the day, Gentaku settles onto the porch, cracking open a cold beer and enjoying some snacks as he unwinds in the fading light. Gentaku bursts out laughing, raising his drink with a bright smile as he declares that being single is the best. He reflects on the freedom it brings, spending money and time as he pleases, without anyone complaining about his choices. His hobbies like camping, fishing, and biking keep him fulfilled, and he's confident in his ability to support himself independently for weeks on end. Gentaku recalls that tomorrow marks his father's death anniversary, reflecting on how tough his father's life was. He remembers his mother as a chronic spender, quickly draining everything his father earned. When Dad tried to expand his work by taking out a bank loan for new equipment, everything fell apart. Mom ran off with the money, leaving him devastated. Though devastated at first, Grandpa stepped in to save the family by using all his savings to pay off the debt. He moved in with them, helping with construction work, and transformed the electrical company into more of a handyman shop. Watching his dad and Grandpa work together inspired him deeply, sparking a desire to follow in their footsteps. The sight of their dedication at Oda Electric Works left a lasting impression on him. Living with Grandpa brought new joy, as the three of them spent weekends fishing and camping together, lifting Dad's spirits. Dad's love for bikes, shared with Grandpa from their youth, led them to buy a motorcycle they constantly tinkered with, strengthening their bond. Sometimes, they'd all ride together, sharing the open road and the beauty of the sunset. Those moments were the best, planting the seed of a deep love for a free, untethered life. It was during these rides that his passion for freedom truly took hold. Gentaku is advised not to buy into the idea that marriage guarantees happiness, but rather to focus on his own happiness above all else. He questions the traditional expectations of marriage and filial duty, while the other insists that living true to oneself is what really matters. The conversation challenges conventional views on marriage and family obligations. Gentaku reflects on his father's painful experience with marriage, deciding that a conventional, happy married life isn't for him. Instead, he prefers the freedom of riding, camping, and fishing, finding joy in simple pleasures like reading manga and light novels. With work easing up at the end of the month, he contemplates a short road trip to a hot spring inn, embracing a life true to himself. Gentaku firmly resolves to live life on his own terms, staying single, earning money, and spending it as he pleases. Meanwhile, two men walk together near a factory, one apologizing for a sudden shutter malfunction, while the other reassures him, grateful just to have work. One man assures the other that he can fix the shutter with the parts he brought, asking if a temporary power outage is acceptable. The other man agrees without hesitation. As preparations begin, a sign is posted warning that the power is off for electrical work, while the repairman thanks everyone for their patience before shutting off the breaker to start. As he works on the repair, Gentaku looks forward to finishing the job so he can start preparing for his trip. He even considers finding some scenic spots to enjoy along the way. Suddenly, a violent electric shock surges through Gentaku's hands, causing him to cry out in pain. He quickly pulls away, clutching his arm as he realizes the breaker has been flipped back on. Confused and alarmed, he questions who turned the power back on, understanding now why he was shocked. Gentaku lies on the ground, stunned and in disbelief, muttering that he can't believe what just happened. In a somber realization, he acknowledges that he was electrocuted mid-job, and just like that, he died. Gentaku suddenly jolts upright, shocked to find himself alive despite the electrocution. He examines his hands carefully, noting that although the pain was intense, his body feels surprisingly fine. Yet, a deeper realization begins to dawn on him. There's something even more important he needs to understand. Gentaku finds himself in an unfamiliar, eerie factory courtyard, confused by the strange layout. He recalls how close he was to dying back there and angrily vows to file a complaint. Yet, a single word escapes him, questioning the reality of his near-death experience. Die! Gentaku looks around the unfamiliar warehouse district, confused and questioning what's happening. He wonders if he's really in the factory or somewhere else entirely. Struggling to make sense of his situation, trying to rationalize it, he laughs nervously, considering the possibility that he might have died and been transported to another world like in the Ice Sky light novels he's read, but quickly dismisses it as just a dream. Gentaku stares at a building labeled Alexandrite Trading Company. Finding the name strange, he's baffled that the sign's characters aren't Japanese or English, just odd squiggly lines. Yet somehow he can still understand them. Panic sets in as he frantically questions what's happening, unable to believe what he's realizing. Suddenly, a man yells for Gentaku not to move, while a group of armored knights surrounding him demand that he identify himself. Confused and alarmed, Gentaku wonders who these medieval-looking warriors are, and if this is some kind of strange reality or a bizarre cosplay. Gentaku's panic deepens as he realizes he's definitely not in Japan and wonders if he's truly been ice-guyed. The armored knights confront him aggressively, accusing him of breaking in and demanding to know what he's doing there. Despite their hostility, Gentaku insists he has no idea what's going on, trying to explain his confusion. Instinctively, Gentaku's grandfather's Aikido training kicks in, and Gentaku swiftly disarms one of the armored knights with a precise kick. Realizing the timing couldn't be worse, Gentaku grimaces as the knight falls back in shock. Surrounded and cornered, Gentaku admits defeat, desperately pleading for the knights to hear him out and promising he's not dangerous. The knights, wary but willing to listen, finally agree to hear his explanation. As the knights salute and stand at attention, a confident woman in an elegant dress and a man in a top hat step forward, their presence commanding the scene. The man cautiously warns the woman not to get too close, but she reassures him with a calm, knowing smile. The woman eyes Gentaku with curiosity, noting his strange clothes, while the man observes his black hair and eyes. They both sense that Gentaku is unfamiliar to this place. When asked directly if he's from around here, Gentaku awkwardly admits that he probably isn't. Sandrone introduces herself as the president of the Alexandrite Trading Company and asks Gentaku his name. Gentaku responds simply, asking them to just call him Gentaku. Despite finding his name unusual, the woman admits she thinks it's cool, prompting Gentaku to ask if they're willing to hear him out. Sandrone agrees to listen to Gentaku's story if it's interesting, but warns with a playful smile that if it's boring, he'll end up in jail. Gentaku, already anxious, imagines himself imprisoned and mutters about his bad luck. Despite his nervous plea, Sandrone remains intrigued and looks forward to hearing more. Sandrone explains how Gentaku managed to sneak past their security mages and enter the warehouse, only to be caught by the guards outside. She finds the situation amusing, suggesting that dealing with a suspicious man like him is kind of fun. Gentaku, observing this, reflects on the presence of security mages, realizing just how much this world truly feels like a fantasy. Gentaku questions why they rely on flint and steel for fire instead of using magic. Finding it primitive, he quickly reassures them he means no harm and offers to lend his fire if needed. The group stands together, the tension easing as Gentaku extends his hand in goodwill. Gentaku strikes a lighter, producing a small flame that immediately captures everyone's attention. The group, including Sandrone and the guards, reacts with surprise and curiosity at this simple, yet unfamiliar display of fire. The group is stunned as a small flame flickers to life without any chant or magic circle, sparking disbelief and curiosity. They struggle to comprehend this magic tool that creates fire so effortlessly, questioning how such a thing is possible. The atmosphere buzzes with astonishment as they try to grasp this unfamiliar concept. Without warning, the woman lashes out fiercely, knocking a man to the ground. His shocked companions rush forward, calling out to her in alarm as tension escalates in an instant. The woman, captivated and intrigued, holds the lighter with a bright smile, asking, "What is this thing?" The man, still uneasy, explains it's a lighter and suggests they move somewhere else. Meanwhile, a quiet thought reflects on the classic ice guy trope, how modern gadgets never fail to astonish fantasy locals. The man anxiously asks if she means jail, but she smiles confidently, clarifying it's a VIP treatment instead. As she commands Richter to escort their guest, the man desperately reaches out, worried about his lighter. The others quickly obey her orders, dispersing to resume their duties. Richter calmly instructs the man to follow him, signaling a sudden shift from suspicion to VIP treatment. As the man walks through the quiet, starry streets, he reflects on how an ordinary oil lighter unexpectedly saved him. Yet in this unfamiliar world, he remains uncertain about what lies ahead. The chapter closes with a mix of anxiety and anticipation as his new life begins. Under the quiet night sky, a confident woman welcomes her guests into her elegant office. The visitors, clearly tense, settle in as one of them nervously breaks the silence with a hesitant, "Hey." The woman demands an explanation for the mysterious object in her hand, clearly skeptical about its nature. The man insists it's just a lighter, a simple tool for making fire, and insists there's no magic involved. Yet, she remains unconvinced, noting she senses no mana from it and questions how it actually creates fire. The woman presses the man about where he bought the lighter, expecting him to know it came from a fire shop, but he sheepishly admits he has no idea. She shifts the conversation, asking him to honestly explain why he's really here. The man, clutching his bag nervously, insists he's telling the truth. The man explains how he was working in another world, got electrocuted, and blacked out, only to regain consciousness lying in front of her warehouse. The woman, now holding the lighter, accepts his story with a smirk, saying, "Fine, let's just say you came from another world." She then confidently suggests moving forward to discuss what comes next. The man nervously admits he has a bad feeling about the situation, glancing back anxiously. Meanwhile, the other man, sweating and tense, confidently asserts that he's right, clearly pressing his point. The first man, still uneasy, cautiously offers a place to stay if the other has nowhere else to go, while the confident man acknowledges his interest and, more importantly, the potential for profit. The woman boldly commands him to become mine, extending her hand with a confident allure. Unfazed, the man firmly rejects her offer, declaring it's not happening. He calmly explains that, despite the compliment, he has vowed to live his life single and free. She clarifies that she doesn't want him, but rather his knowledge, insisting he use what he knows from his world to benefit her. In exchange, she promises to provide him with food, shelter, and teach him about this world. Overwhelmed but resigned, he nervously agrees, while she praises him as a smart man. She holds up a lighter, curious about how to create fire so easily, and asks Richter to explain. She questions the rarity of fire in this world and references the Okibia, where people supposedly buy fire. Richter acknowledges her request with respect, ready to provide an explanation. Richter formally introduces himself as the secretary and bodyguard to Sandrone, president of the Alexandrite Trading Company. Gentaku asks him to explain more about fire and the country, to which Richter agrees but warns it will take a while before he can start, as he plans to shower and sleep first. Sandrone cheerfully leaves the explanation to Richter, bidding him good night, leaving both men surprised and bewildered by her sudden departure. Richter begins his explanation, acknowledging the harshness of the situation. He describes how people obtain fire tools from shops called Okibia, which sell fire conjured by magic. He explains that fire is normally made only with magic or difficult-to-use flint, and every household keeps a lamp for receiving fire, purchasing it regularly for daily use, a concept completely foreign to Japan, making it feel like another world. Richter lights a lighter, explaining that back home, fire is never a concern because they have tools like this. Gentaku is amazed, imagining how mass-producing such a tool could secure their company's future. Though Richter wonders if the Okibia shops would be upset, when asked their ages, Richter reveals he's 29 and his lady is 21, prompting a surprised remark about her boldness, to which Richter responds with a knowing smile. Richter confirms he understands the fire situation and asks about the country they're in. Gentaku explains they are in the Kingdom of Edelstein, the largest nation on the continent, specifically in the 13th District's warehouse block where all trading companies store their goods. Gentaku explains that the Alexandrite Company uses magical detection fields and magic guards for security, making unauthorized entry difficult. Richter, intrigued by the mention of offensive and defensive magic as well as monsters, reflects on how this world feels like a fantasy. As he processes this, Gentaku calls out to him, prompting Richter to focus on the task at hand despite his excitement. Richter asks if there are taxes or income reports in this world. Curious about the financial system, Gentaku explains that taxes are paid once a year at a rate of 10%, which Richter finds surprisingly low, calling the place a paradise compared to Japan. As he processes this, Richter reflects on how he could actually live well here, despite having decent spending money back home. Richter wonders if he could live independently in this world, but Gentaku cautions that it might be difficult since Richter is still unfamiliar with many things and their lady won't easily let him go. Despite this, Richter feels motivated and asks what he should start with, to which Gentaku suggests something related to the oil lighter. Richter, determined and sly, decides to start with matches instead of oil lighters, seeing it as a more practical first step. He asks Gentaku about different types of flint, eager to learn how fires are started in this world. As the day ends, Gentaku suggests continuing their lesson tomorrow and promises to prepare Richter's room, while Richter apologizes for keeping him late. Richter reflects on how uncertain he was when he first arrived, But now he sees potential for a peaceful, slow life here and feels confident he can make it work. Though going solo might be tough, he's ready to face the challenge. That night, despite his resolve to stay single, a new, awkward chapter begins for him. As morning breaks, a cheerful man in a formal outfit greets another, asking if he slept well. The other man, lying in bed, admits the bedding was fine but struggles with the hard spring mattress. They quickly agree to head to breakfast, where a lady is already waiting. As they walk through the building, one man remarks on how surprisingly clean and fancy the warehouse is, noting the guest room's elegance. The other explains that the building also serves as their office, with guest rooms designed for visiting clients and a separate residence for the lady behind the warehouse. The first man reflects on the word fancy, clearly impressed. The lady greets them with a cool, confident morning as she lounges elegantly on a luxurious sofa. Smoking a cigarette, the man responds casually with a simple yo, clearly taken aback by her striking presence. The man asks for his lighter back, but the woman insists he eat breakfast first before giving him a job. She challenges him to create a simplified, mass-producible version of an item she shows him. Worried, he checks his bag to see if his tools and belongings are still intact, listing out what he has as he contemplates the task. He breathes a sigh of relief, confirming his belongings are still intact, though the woman teases him about the strange items he keeps. When he checks his phone, he realizes there's no signal, prompting a tense moment as she leans in close to look at the screen, leaving him flustered. He explains the smartphone as a communication device from his world, capable of playing music and videos. Though most features are now useless, intrigued, she finds it fascinating but is denied the chance to use it, as he insists it's his lifeline and tells her to settle for the lighter instead. Meanwhile, a maid announces that breakfast is ready. He finally gives in, smiling warmly as he agrees to eat, surrounded by a hearty breakfast spread. Later, after finishing the meal, he expresses how the food felt strangely familiar and satisfying. The butler, attentive as ever, asks if the meal suited his taste, while the peaceful room reflects a moment of calm and contentment. She lights a cigarette, taking a slow drag as she declares it's time for a smoke. He watches her, then pulls out his own cigarette, explaining it's tobacco from his world, and asks if she still has something to light it with. She confirms, intrigued by this small connection to his past. She explains that her company not only develops magic tools but also produces tobacco, surprising him that his world isn't the only one with it. Offering him a brand called Stardust to try, he accepts and takes a drag, finding the taste sweet and oddly comforting. He immediately coughs violently, struggling with the harsh taste, while she insists he switch to their tobacco blend. She explains that their tobacco contains medicinal properties that purify the body, crafted from her own special blend favored by noble ladies, despite his disbelief about tobacco being harmful. She insists that genuine tobacco is beneficial and warns against confusing it with low-quality products. He reluctantly agrees to switch to the fantasy world's tobacco since he plans to keep smoking. Meanwhile, she announces she and Richter have a business meeting and instructs him to start developing a magic tool for making fire, offering him full access to the workshop beneath the warehouse. He protests, overwhelmed by the task and his lack of knowledge about this world, asking for a walking encyclopedia to help him. She calmly decides to assign Gentaku as his support assistant to guide him through anything he doesn't understand. Though hesitant, he reluctantly agrees, realizing he'll be left to manage things for a few days. He learns that Gentaku is one of the company's engineers and surveys the workshop, noting it feels more like a development lab than a typical workspace. Observing unfamiliar tools and mysterious blueprints, he decides it might be better not to ask too many questions. Suddenly, a fiery young woman confronts him, demanding if he really impressed her lady. Clearly upset and jealous, confused, he stammers as she pushes forward, accusing him of stealing her place as the only one who could impress their lady. He anxiously tries to figure out who she is, realizing she knows about his otherworldly origins. Yelan confidently introduces herself as a magic tool developer for the Alexandrite company, challenging Gentaku with a playful salute. Gentaku responds with his name, but Yelan questions his ability to handle the support role, teasing him about his age and experience. Their banter reveals a mix of curiosity and rivalry as they size each other up. Yelan proudly declares herself the best magic engineer their lady has ever recognized, boasting about being a triple attribute prodigy despite her young age. Gentaku, confused, questions what a magic engineer and triple attribute even mean. Yelan then reminds him to be gentle and treat her like a clueless kid, while Gentaku reluctantly agrees. Yelan teasingly mocks Gentaku as a helpless baby, promising to teach him everything he needs to know. Gentaku, realizing the full meaning behind Richter's words, silently curses Sandrone for putting him in this position. Despite his doubts, he admits his lack of knowledge and places his trust in Yelan. who confidently assures him she'll handle it. He hesitates, realizing he doesn't fully understand what a magic tool is. She's surprised by his ignorance but quickly urges him to ask questions, reminding him that understanding this world is essential for their work. He admits he's counting on her guidance moving forward. That morning was filled with relentless questions, and he absorbed a lot about mana, the fantasy-type energy everyone is born with. He learned there are 6 elemental colors of mana, though most people have colorless, non-elemental mana. Despite this complexity, schools still teach basic magic so common folk can perform small household spells, though it all feels like pure fantasy to him. She proudly reveals she's a rare triple attribute holder, mastering water, earth, and wind magic. Though she mainly uses basic daily and crafting spells rather than offensive magic, he listens with genuine interest, impressed by her unique abilities. She enthusiastically praises Lady Sandrone's brilliance, explaining that her admiration is why she joined this trade. When someone jokingly calls Lady Sandrone a bossy lady, she quickly defends her with fierce loyalty. Then, shifting focus, she tells Gentaku she's about to check his magic affinity and asks him to remove his glove. She reveals a magic affinity diagnostic sheet developed by the Alexandrite company that can test a person's element and total mana with just a drop of blood. Something only mages from the Magic Association could do before. Gentaku is impressed, though he wonders if this invention might put those mages out of business. She proudly declares it one of Lady Sandrone's best inventions. They explain how Lady Sandrone boldly challenged the Magic Association's mages at the Royal Palace to prove her invention's accuracy. Despite backlash from higher-ups, her confidence and success forced the association to admit defeat, making the diagnostic sheets indispensable. Gentaku admires her audacity, thinking it's truly impressive. She reassures him as he hesitates about blood, explaining a tiny needle is hidden inside the sheet that only causes a small sting. Despite his nervousness, he presses his finger down, noticing a faint glow appear. Excited, she eagerly asks him what element he is. She reveals that Gentaku possesses all 6 elemental attributes, leaving him stunned by his insanely high mana level. Gentaku, half joking, wonders if that means he's super talented, but she quickly cuts him off, insisting this is no time for jokes. As they examine the diagnostic sheet, they discover not 6, but 7 elemental lines, leaving Gentaku confused since he believed there were only 6 attributes. The woman sternly demands silence, and Gentaku senses something serious brewing, feeling uneasy. They review the diagnostic sheet again, noting the 6 usual elemental attributes: earth, water, fire, wind, light, and dark, each color-coded accordingly. However, a mysterious 7th line appears in purple, leaving Gentaku puzzled about its meaning. The woman, serious and focused, asks Gentaku for his hand to examine the unusual reading more closely. The woman instructs Gentaku to hold out his hand as she begins channeling her mana into him. Telling him to close his eyes, Gentaku feels the warmth of the mana flowing through him. The woman calmly guides him to visualize the mana taking on a purple color, emphasizing a slow and steady focus. Gentaku's eyes widen in awe as he realizes the mysterious 7th attribute is purple lightning, an elemental force he hadn't anticipated. The woman gently withdraws her hand, having successfully channeled the energy, leaving a lingering glow of the purple lightning between them. The woman warns Gentaku that awakening a new attribute is rare and dangerous, as every nation and guild would hunt him down if they found out. Gentaku, unfazed, casually declines the idea of hiding it, reflecting on how his electrocution might have triggered this unique power. Despite the gravity of the situation, he admits it feels cool to possess such an unexpected ability. Gentaku firmly rejects the idea of pursuing a promotion, insisting it's not his style and that he's not interested. He explains with a smile that he has other things he wants to focus on. The woman, surprised, points out the obvious benefits of a promotion, but Gentaku remains unconvinced, prompting her to call him a ridiculous old man while admitting she feels embarrassed for boasting about her 3 attributes. With a confident smile, Gentaku admits that while most would be eager to go home, he finds this world surprisingly enjoyable. He decides that since he can use magic, he might as well learn it. Signaling a new determination, the woman watches him, intrigued by his unexpected motivation. Gentaku, with a determined smile, asks Yelena to help him not only with work but also to teach him magic, starting with a fire-starting tool and promising more projects once he masters the basics. Yelena, focused and ready, responds confidently that she's counting on him, acknowledging his new role as her sensei. Yelena smiles warmly, accepting the new title of sensei with enthusiasm and agreeing to teach Gentaku everything she knows. Their handshake seals this new partnership, marking the beginning of Gentaku's magical journey under her guidance. Gentaku reflects on how life here isn't so different, imagining how his grandpa would have loved a handyman developing magic tools. Yelena eagerly embraces the idea of combining magic with craftsmanship. Ready to make their plans a reality? Together, they embark on a new chapter as the ultimate duo. Gentaku is fired up to create a world-changing invention, a tool that can start a fire. He eagerly turns to his sensei with a question, curious why they don't just use magic to create fire. Given the sensei's fire attribute, the sensei calmly explains that it's not that simple. The sensei explains that fire attribute users are extremely rare and considered the strongest among mages, placing them in a league of their own. Gentaku, surprised, reflects that he had assumed fire users would be common in a fantasy world. The sensei adds that attribute holders are special from the start, while most people are non-attribute and can only perform minor feats like floating light objects. The sensei explains that magic stones, crystals harvested from magical beasts, can be commanded simply to perform magic. Adventurers hunt these beasts and sell the stones to the Commerce Guild, where companies like theirs purchase them. Gentaku is amazed, thinking magic stones are straight out of a fantasy story. She demonstrates how a processed magic stone inside a kettle can be powered by channeling mana, causing the water to boil instantly. Gentaku watches in amazement as the magic tool works right before his eyes. She explains that magic tool engineers don't just design devices. They also inscribe commands into the magic stones, like, produce heat. To make them function, Gentaku realizes how fascinating this craft is and feels inspired, thinking he wants to tinker with these magical creations himself. She explains that magic stones vary in purity, with higher purity stones allowing more complex commands and costing more, while low purity stones, like those from goblins, can only handle simple tasks and crack easily. The conversation highlights the essential role adventurers play in this economic cycle by hunting beasts to supply these stones. The man acknowledges this, noting how adventurers are crucial suppliers for magic stones, which merchants then use to create and sell magic tools. Gentaku asks to see the magic stone inside the kettle, curious about how it produces heat. The woman hands it over, and as Gentaku examines the stone closely, he notices an intricate inscription glowing on its surface. Gentaku, intrigued, asks Yelena if the glowing inscription means heat. Yelena confirms she carved the simple arcane character herself, explaining that stones engraved with such characters produce effects matching the symbol. Gentaku notes the arcane characters resemble kanji to him. Gentaku is amazed to see a magic affinity test sheet written by Wani-sama herself, realizing the arcane characters are literally the same kanji he knows. The girl proudly boasts she can write 8 characters, while Gentaku struggles with just 3, prompting him to nervously ask if arcane characters are supposed to be easy. She eagerly insists she'll be just like Wani-sama, determined to catch up. Yelena snaps angrily, demanding to know if Gentaku really thinks creating arcane characters is easy. She fiercely explains that crafting even a single working character can take a lifetime, with most engineers never making 10, and that developing them requires years of testing phenomena. Overwhelmed, Gentaku quickly apologizes, realizing how much effort goes into the magic he underestimated. Gentaku reflects on how fortunate he is to understand the core of magic engineering, the arcane script, as it's basically kanji he already knows. He begins to see this knowledge as potentially more valuable than relying on attribute or mana cheats. Meanwhile, the girl confidently assures him that she will teach him the script in time, reassuring him that it's fine. Gentaku confidently claims he can handle the script part, much to Yelena's annoyance as she warns him not to underestimate arcane characters. Imagining the possibilities, Gentaku envisions prototyping tools like a puzzle game, believing this method might even surpass his old-world manufacturing skills. Excited, he decides to start building an air conditioner, feeling optimistic about the fun ahead. Gentaku decides to start by making a fire starter and suggests beginning with matches instead of lighters, explaining that matches are like an improved version of flint and steel. Yelena questions the idea, surprised by his choice. Gentaku reassures her that lighters will take more time to create, so matches are a practical first step. Yelena realizes how much more convenient matches are compared to flint, lighting with just a single swipe instead of many strikes. Gentaku envisions mass-producing matches cheaply, recognizing that even if they're not lighters, they're a revolutionary fire-starting tool in a world where fire is precious. The idea of mass-producing fire sparks a hopeful excitement in Yelena. With determination shining in his eyes, Gentaku clenches his fist and declares, "We can do this." Igniting the match, he rallies himself for the challenge ahead, ready to make his first job in this new world a success. Gentaku-san looks utterly drained, his exhaustion evident as others around him laugh and chat. Despite being asked if he's alright, he admits he's far from it, reflecting on how much tougher things have become than he initially thought. He's caught in a difficult situation, feeling stuck and overwhelmed. He admits to treating the arcane script as a mere shortcut, carelessly carving the rune for fire before pouring in mana. The result is an overwhelming, uncontrollable blaze that leaves them both stunned and alarmed. Gentaku reflects on his failure, admitting that although carving kanji into magic stones works, balancing firepower control and ignition ease is a delicate art. Fix one and the other breaks, he acknowledges hitting a wall and realizing it will take real skill to turn this into a viable product, all while still feeling clueless and overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Yelena knocks him out after he manages to put out the fire, leaving him lying on the ground, embarrassed. Richter acknowledges the immense challenge Gentaku faces, reminding him that what he's attempting could shake the very foundations of their world. Despite the difficulty, Richter offers encouragement and suggests they take a break to relax and grab a drink together. Gentaku, touched by the support, gratefully accepts. Richter takes a hearty bite of the stew, his face lighting up with genuine delight. The lively tavern buzzes around him, with a cheerful waitress balancing mugs and plates as the warm atmosphere invites relaxation. For a moment, the weight of their challenges fades, replaced by the simple pleasure of good food and company. Richter and Gentaku discuss the local dining district, with Richter noting its many great spots. Gentaku expresses interest in bar hopping, and Richter eagerly offers to recommend some places, revealing his fondness for bar hopping and other activities. Richter reflects on his past life, describing how he balanced running his own shop with enjoying good food and travel on his days off. He expresses a desire to live that same lifestyle in this world. Despite pushing hard to succeed in his current challenges, he admits it's not working and is gently encouraged to take a break. They notice a large crack in the wall and learn it's being repaired, not with ordinary materials like putty or cement, but with slime from a magical beast. The idea of fixing walls using slime leaves them surprised and curious. They learn that the slime used for repairs isn't alive when applied. It's boiled down until gooey and hardens as it cools. Though not the toughest material, it's cheap, easy to handle, and popular, with uses beyond wall repair. Richter reflects on how even monsters have practical value, intrigued by the idea of mixing ink or crushed stone into the slime for color or construction purposes. Gentaku clenches his fist, determined to give his idea a try. With a confident smile, he thanks Richter and rushes off, leaving others surprised and curious about what he's planning. The thought lingers. If this works, it could change everything. A few days later, Sandrone's office sees an unexpected visitor. A determined woman who's come because she heard there was a report to discuss. Her serious expression hints that what she's about to hear could be important. Gentaku's unkempt appearance draws a sharp rebuke, but he brushes it off, explaining he's just running low on energy. Meanwhile, the woman stresses the importance of presentation and notes that someone else is becoming difficult to reach. The tension hints at deeper issues beneath the surface. Gentaku reveals his invention, a brand new fire starter he calls a magic stone match, or simply match. As curiosity builds, he confidently prepares to demonstrate how it works, inviting everyone to watch closely. Her eyes widen in surprise as the flame bursts to life, illuminating the room. Gentaku, calm and confident, begins explaining the simple yet ingenious process behind his invention. He reveals how he carved a flame shape into a low-grade stone and then crushed it further to control the heat output. Gentaku explains how he mixed slime with stone powder to create the match head, carefully tuning the firepower by adjusting the stone content. He proudly demonstrates the finished product, lighting a match with ease and showing its practicality. The woman listens intently as he highlights the match's quick burn time, low cost, and potential for mass production. The woman acknowledges Gentaku's achievement with a mix of admiration and a hint of envy, while another praises him openly. Gentaku's success in discovering the arcane character for flame and enabling mass production of fire impresses everyone. The man enthusiastically suggests moving forward with large-scale production of the matches and offers Gentaku a generous reward, asking what he desires in return. Gentaku declines the offered money, requesting instead to work for a year to learn how business operates in this world. He reveals his plan to start a company focused on developing magic tools, proposing to outsource advertising and sales to the man's firm. The others react with surprise at his ambitious and independent vision. Sandrone faces harsh demands from her family, who insist that her sole duty is to marry and produce an heir, rejecting her desire to learn business. They cruelly remind her that her life belongs to the family and expect her to repay their investment with her body, leaving her trapped in a suffocating fate. Sandrone reflects bitterly on how her life is dictated entirely by her family's demands, leaving her no freedom to choose her own path. Despite the suffocating constraints, she quietly vows to one day take control and run the household herself, recognizing that her current existence is nothing more than being trapped in a gilded cage. Sandrone quietly admits her longing to live freely again. Like she once did, the man encourages her to create her own company with her own rules, believing that's how the best ideas are born. He shares his philosophy of working hard, playing hard, and diving into hobbies, while Sandrone acknowledges her debt but asserts that this is how she survives. Sandrone, inspired by the man's words, admits that even in this world, she is truly living, free and enjoying herself. A newfound lightness shines in her expression as she embraces the possibility of freedom and joy. The man enthusiastically agrees to grant the request, sparking excitement in the girl beside him. They discuss the promising future of Alexandrite's new match product, anticipating widespread success and huge profits. Meanwhile, a confident woman playfully laments missing out on the reward, teasing that she would have given her all if asked. She boldly declares she has no plans to marry, insisting that staying single and free suits her best. Her playful confidence shocks the man and the girl beside him, who reacts with a mix of surprise and indignation. Laughing heartily, she embraces her independence without hesitation. With a bright smile, she declares marriage is a hard pass, sharing her sentiment of independence. The man responds calmly, intrigued by her spirit, while the girl beside him swoons at the sight of the woman's smile. As they shake hands, the man reflects on her surprising warmth, realizing she might be more genuine and kind-hearted than he first thought. With a confident smile, she sets a firm expectation. All the reading must be done by tomorrow, making it clear she doesn't tolerate skipped homework. The man, overwhelmed by the sudden workload, struggles to keep up, while the girl eagerly cheers on their formidable queen. The man quietly admits to himself that she truly is a force to be reckoned with. Determined to embrace independence, he throws himself into relentless studying and hard work. Despite the overwhelming tasks ahead, over the course of a year, his dedication never wavers, fueled by the hope of creating a meaningful second life. Exhausted but accomplished, he finally reaches a moment of progress, ready to face whatever comes next. With a proud smile, he unveils the sign modeled after his old shop, declaring it looks better than expected. Ready to take the next big step, he announces his plan to buy his own castle and found his very own company. At last, he's moving forward toward the ideal slow life he's been working so hard to achieve. She challenges the crowd, pointing out that using matches means no more struggling to make fire, making things easier for customers. She argues that opposing this convenience is selfish and questions if that's what a true customer-first merchant would do. The crowd listens intently, some clearly taken aback by her ruthless logic. She reassures the crowd that she's not there to bully them, but to empower the fire-sharing shops by making them the official sellers of matches. She announces a major marketing campaign and a shift in branding, promising increased profits with this new product. However, one shop owner angrily protests, refusing to replace his family's long-held sign. The man's anger boils over as he fiercely defends his family's sign, insisting they've protected it long before she was born and demanding she stop with her nonsense. Meanwhile, others watch tensely, aware that changing the signboard isn't just a simple switch but a deep, prideful tradition tied to the scarce fire that fire-sharing shops have long preserved. Young Sandrone's hesitation reveals she underestimates the weight of this legacy. The young man pleads with his father, insisting that even without being a fire-sharing shop, they can still operate as a match shop. His father reacts with anger and disbelief, unable to accept this shift. Meanwhile, another man quietly admits he lacks the fire attribute needed to maintain the family's legacy, acknowledging he can't run a proper fire-sharing shop like his predecessor did. Fire attributes are rare, and even if a parent possesses it, their child might not, sometimes forcing shops to close when no successor can maintain the legacy. The young man passionately expresses his desire to keep the store alive in some form, even if it means abandoning fire sharing, because the shop has long supported their community and he refuses to let it end with his generation. A man shares how he too inherited his family's work, having grown up watching and respecting his parents' dedication. Though he changed the nature of the work slightly, he believes the core mission remains the same, supporting people's daily lives just as his grandfather and father did. Another man reflects that the young man's son likely wishes to continue what truly matters most to their family legacy. The father, smiling warmly, gives his reluctant approval, acknowledging his son as the next shopkeeper and encouraging him to do his best. The son beams with pride, grateful for his father's blessing. Meanwhile, a man in the crowd contemplates the potential of expanding their business through deliveries and on-site sales, despite his own struggles with fire magic. Excitement bubbles as several shopkeepers eagerly declare their intention to switch to matches, prompting one to call for order and a lineup. Meanwhile, in a horse-drawn carriage, two individuals reflect on the peaceful resolution of a recent issue, grateful for the helpful nudge that prevented disaster and noting the positive impact on fire-sharing shops. With a confident smile, the woman acknowledges the swift success of securing numerous contracts, calling it a major accomplishment. Meanwhile, a man named Richter promptly responds to her call, showing his readiness to assist. Another man, feeling worn out, agrees that it's only proper for her to lead as the company's president. While she contemplates the future of the Alexandrite Trading Company and the differences between their situation and others. With fierce determination, she commands the setup of a delivery schedule for matches to the royal family, insisting they secure a connection no matter what. Holding the results in hand, she vows to pay respects to the Edelstein royal house. The onlookers, both impressed and exasperated, realize she's solely focused on climbing higher. After matches became a huge success as Sandrone predicted, they quickly turned into a must-have item for both households and adventurers. The royal family's approval transformed matches into Alexandrite's main business, while she dedicated the year to studying magitech, organizing ideas, and stockpiling money and knowledge to thrive in this new world. A year has passed, and the new shop proudly displays its sign, giving it the feel of a real business. As the setup is confirmed perfect, Gentoku receives congratulations on the grand opening from Sandrone and Richter, marking a significant milestone in their journey. Gentoku warmly welcomes Sandrone and Richter, who have come bearing a gift to celebrate the shop's grand opening. As the cheerful exchange continues, the staff bids farewell, proud of the day's success. The scene then shifts to a quiet, sunlit room, hinting at the calm after the excitement. They tour the property, noting it's fully equipped with furniture and essentials. Ready to move in, Gentoku is surprised to see plans already laid out, signaling work has begun. When he requests a coffee maker, Sandrone jokes about needing a muddy water purifier instead, sparking a lighthearted moment. Gentoku and Sandrone engage in a playful debate over coffee versus tea, with Sandrone teasing that anyone who doesn't appreciate good coffee is still a kid. Gentoku admits that owning his own shop has sparked new ideas, which he had been jotting down in a notebook all along. Sandrone concedes that Gentoku might be the only one allowed to call him kid, highlighting their growing camaraderie. Sandrone asks if Gentoku will develop devices for her if she places an order, confirming this is a magitech workshop. Gentoku replies that it depends on his mood since he doesn't want to get too famous and lose his days off. He admits he has many ideas he wants to try and promises to let her know if he makes something fun to play with. Sandrone smiles, impressed by Gentoku's enthusiasm, and remarks that working solo suits him well, noting he's more fired up than when he was on salary. Sandrone smiles warmly, teasing Gentoku about whether their bond will last into old age, asking if they'll still get along when they become grandma and grandpa. Gentoku smiles warmly, affirming their bond as good work partners. Sandrone, feeling relieved, expresses her gratitude for coming and mentions she's ready to head back after shaking off some stress. Their camaraderie is clear as they share this moment of mutual respect and understanding. Gentoku learns that while the company's growth is positive, it has also been a heavy burden for Sandrone. The man in the top hat expresses how much Gentoku's presence has helped her unwind, hinting they'll soon need his support again. Gentoku, concerned, agrees to remind her not to carry the weight all by herself. Gentoku stands in his new workspace, feeling a sense of accomplishment as he declares he finally has his own castle, energized by this milestone. He eagerly begins brainstorming a magitech gadget that could support Sandrone and the others, determined to help his precious teammates. Gentoku sets his plans in motion with renewed enthusiasm. The world has 4 seasons, much like Japan, making life comfortable. As summer approaches, a familiar urge grows stronger within him. With a deep sigh, he admits his craving: an ice-cold beer. Though the wine he received as a gift was exquisite, nothing compares to the icy refreshment he craves in the summer heat. After sweating through hard labor, the thought of pouring a cold beer down his overheated body fills him with unmatched bliss. Energized and determined, he clenches his fists and declares, "I've got to make that thing." He gathers a crate full of goblin magic stones, ready to carve kanji into them to imbue each with special effects. With a confident smile, he acknowledges how convenient, and almost like cheating, this method is. Now that the stones are prepared, he turns his attention to crafting the box. He examines the prototype fridge thoughtfully, realizing that basing it on a water-cooled design only chills the magic stone while leaving the inside barely cool. Feeling that something is off, he decides the box needs to be made more airtight to improve its cooling efficiency. Recognizing slime's unique qualities, he decides to smear it on and chill it to harden, appreciating how versatile and handy it is. With a gasket now ready, he feels confident this airtight seal will improve the box's cooling. From his perspective as a repairman, slime's usefulness rivals that of magic scripts, and he's eager to test different stones next. The prototype fridge with an ice maker is finally complete, though the freezer section struggles to form more than a thin layer of ice before the stone breaks. Carving cold air on even a low-tier goblin stone is enough to cool, but improving durability and output is necessary to fix the ice maker's limitations. Confident in his plan, he decides to seek advice nearby. As he strolls through the bustling town, the repairman is warmly greeted by the cheerful fire shop owner, who excitedly calls him the Magitech guy. They catch up briefly, with the fire shop owner proudly sharing that his business has been booming since their last meeting. The fire shop owner happily shares how selling fire has become much easier, with more delivery runs and increased profits. He proudly recounts hiring a clerk and taking his family on a trip, enjoying good food and time together. Luxuries they never had before. Grateful, he credits the matches for giving him the time to enjoy life again. The fire shop owner happily shares that many young men, once too busy to find wives, have now gotten married thanks to the new opportunities. He hints at the repairman's own future, while the repairman beams with gratitude, asking for continued support. The warmth of these changes clearly touches everyone involved. At the Adventurers Guild, Gentaku is caught off guard by Hexen's sudden arrival. Noticing he's out of breath, Hexen casually greets him and reveals he's gone independent. Handing over a business card as proof, Gentaku, intrigued, asks if Hexen has any magic stones and if his errand was from the young lady. Hexen explains that he prefers a laid-back solo business, where his best ideas come to him. When asked for an example, he shares his dream invention, a Magitech device that chills booze to ice-cold perfection. Hexen dreams aloud about a Magitech device that could chill drinks to the crispness of mountain water, even cooling the glass itself for the perfect experience. Gentaku, clearly impressed, admits he wants one too. They then discuss the quality of magic stones needed to bring this invention to life, with Gentaku asking for anything above the wolf rank. The grading system for magic stones is explained, ranging from 1 for goblins up to 10 for legendary creatures like dragons. Higher grades mean higher prices, with current stock including 5 hunting wolf and metal orc stones. Though 3 stones would be ideal, suddenly, someone calls out to Hexen, catching his attention. 3 women confidently approach through an archway, each with distinct styles. A cheerful warrior in armor waving brightly, a serene nun with a gentle smile, and a quiet, cloaked figure with a calm, observant gaze. The atmosphere is lively, with petals and sparkles adding a magical touch to their entrance. The 3 women introduce themselves as Ao, Rosso, and Blanche. Gentaku mentions that 20 Delicondor stones are being brought in and are currently being butchered. Rosso excitedly asks if Hexen is a Magitech engineer and what he's making with the 3 stones. Noting their impressive potential, Gentaku remarks that Delicondor stones are exactly 3, calling Hexen lucky, while another man reacts with excitement at the news. Rosso is stunned and incredulous at the idea of a Magitech device that can make ice, expressing disbelief since they've never heard of such a thing despite their travels. Hexen calmly admits he's not finished yet but is close to completing it. Meanwhile, Blanche and Ao inquire if Hexen would make one for them if they requested it, to which Hexen modestly replies that he just opened his shop and isn't taking many orders yet. Blanche, Ao, and Hexen warmly say their goodbyes, with Blanche and Ao excitedly promising to visit Hexen's shop soon. As they leave, Hexen hands over a map, smiling modestly. Meanwhile, Gentaku encourages Hexen to keep up the good work, admiring the young adventurer's success. Hexen, energized by the quality of the stones he's gathered, eagerly prepares to process them and complete the Magitech fridge. Meanwhile, in a refined setting, Sandrone reviews documents with a keen merchant's instinct, prompting her attendant to ask what's on her mind.